made, he is called offeree. While in our country, under our law, under the Contract Act 1872, we call it proposal. So just suppose that I ask I'm attracted by the mobile phone of one of you, and I ask the student having the mobile, I ask him, would you sell me this mobile for 10,000 rupees? If he agrees, he would say yes. So my statement is proposal, and his statement, he is proposee, and his saying yes is acceptance. The moment he says yes, sir, you see, the contract is concluded. And let me tell you, what does conclusion of contract mean? Contract is completed, and after a contract is completed or concluded, none of the parties to the contract can go back. Anyone who wanted to go back, he would be called to have breached the contract, for which he will come across certain consequences. So here in this case, you see, I'm offering. So whenever my proposal is accepted by the one in whose mobile I'm interested, you see, he accepts my proposal, the contract is concluded, and our nomenclature of the parties is changed. Both of them, they become promisers and promisees. Now this is not a proposal. A proposal, when accepted, it becomes a promise. So both of them would be called promisers and promisees. How both of them can be promisers and promisees? Strange? No. Look, by offering him, and after his acceptance,
Sir, can you repeat the last point? Sir, ये promiser और promisees ये नहीं समझ
yes,
आई क्या sir?
okay. I was telling you that whenever a proposal is made, as I offered to the student 10,000 rupees and showed my interest in buying his mobile, and he agreed. I said, would you sell me this mobile for 10,000 rupees? He says, yes, sir. So the moment he accepted my proposal, now both of us, we are bound, contract is concluded, and none of us can go back. The one who will go back, you see, I have made a promise that whenever he delivers the mobile, I'll pay him 10,000 rupees, isn't it? I'm the promiser. Now it's a contract, and it's a promise or a set of promise. So I'm promiser for paying the price, and the promisee is the one to whom I have promised to pay. So the student, the owner of the mobile, he is promisee for the purpose of my promise of paying him price. Do you understand me? So
Yes sir.
there are two promises. My promise is that whenever the mobile is delivered to me, I'll pay 10,000 rupees. This is my promise. For the purpose of this promise, I am promiser. P Promisor, promiser. And the owner of the mobile is the promisee. Okay. On the other hand, he has also made, by accepting my proposal, he has made a promise with me that whenever I show my willingness and readiness to pay him 10,000 rupees, he will deliver the mobile. So his promise is to deliver the mobile on the payment of the price. So he is promiser for the promise of delivering the mobile. He is promiser, and I'm promiser. So if you look at this situation, you will come to know that both the parties, there are, in every contract, there are two promises. You see? So if there are two promises, then naturally both of them, they are promisers and promisees. Again, my promise to pay 10,000 rupees, it's for this, I'm the promiser, and the owner of the mobile is the promisee. While for the promise of delivering me the mobile on payment, my payment of 10,000 rupees, the owner of the mobile is promiser and I'm promisee. Did you understand this point? There are
Yes, sir.
there are two promises in the contract. But the question of promises, you see, arises when a contract is concluded. And I have also told you that, already told you that You see, conclusion of contract means when contract is finally made. After the conclusion of contract, nobody can go back. So what made me telling you all this? At the moment, I'm looking at my mobile, reading the slides. Okay, so this is again taking you back to section 2E, which says that a contract is every promise and every set of promise forming consideration for each contract. Although consideration, I have a different slide for defining and explaining the definitions which we see in the Contract Act. But consideration, I don't know what does it literally mean. But in the language of the contract law, consideration means price of the promise, isn't it? Are you understanding? Simple, in simplest possible words, consideration means price of a promise. Okay, and recently I have told you that there are two promises. Okay, so my promise is to pay 10,000 rupees. Here question arises that why I'm paying 10,000 rupees to that student. What's my consideration? What's my incentive? What's the price of my promise to pay 10,000 rupees? My consideration is, you see, our price of my promise of paying 10,000 rupees is his willingness to deliver me the mobile. So my consideration is mobile, while why he is agreed, why he has promised to deliver me this mobile, why, what made him doing so, agreeing so? His what's the price of his promise, which I'm paying? You see, his consideration is 10,000 rupees. Okay,
सर
so
एक स्टूडेंट को अलाउ कर दे मीटिंग में.
all right, sir. Thank you very much. But I don't see any new student here. I have allowed all of them. Okay, okay, thank you. Muhammad Bilal,
Yes, sir.
I have allowed him. Please keep reminding me because I am looking at the screen and my attention is diverted to so many things. Okay, so we are talking about consideration, which this term occurred in section 2H, which
सर
says
कैमरा भी ऑन रखना आपके लिए जरूरी नहीं है सर. कुछ
sorry,
टीचर्स कैमरा नहीं ऑन करते.
camera.
नहीं ऑन करते. अगर आप इजी है कैमरा ना ऑन करने में तो वो आप नहीं भी कर सकते.
कैमरा मैंने
मतलब कुछ
ऑन
टीचर्स ऐसे ही पढ़ा सकते हैं.
कैमरा मैंने इंटेंशनली ऑन किया है क्योंकि मैं इसको रिकॉर्ड कर रहा हूं और आई विल यूज दिस लेक्चर समवेयर एल्स. दैट्स व्हाई
ओके
I asked your consent. You see, if you say no
ओके
camera,
सर.
then so in the very beginning I asked you, would you like me to record? And for the recording, I need the camera. If you don't like to look at my face, don't look at the
नो सर
don't
आपकी
look at the
इजी होने
screen
के लिए
and
कह रही
just
हूँ.
listen to me. Concentrate upon what I'm saying. I'm actually explaining the definition or technical meanings of contract, and I was in section 2E, which says every promise and every set of promise forming consideration for each other. So in this simple case of selling and buying of a mobile, you see consideration is the price of promise. Every promise in a contract is the consideration for a counterpart promise. Like I told you that my consideration is mobile and his consideration is 10,000 rupees. So consideration in the simplest possible words is the price of a promise. Um, Although I'll give you a few minutes at the end of the lecture for your question, but if you need me to explain something else, or if you have a question, you can ask question during the lecture as well. Coming to third definition, which defines promise. This is section 2B of the Contract Act. It defines promise. What is a promise? You see, can anybody tell me, in the light of my few minutes of lecturing, what is a promise? Hurry up, please. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What's a promise? Tell me in a couple of words. Oh, you know it.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What's a promise?
Sir, promise is an agreement of the proposal which the promisers
Right.
ask to the promisee to accept that.
You are
Promise,
right. You are right, my son. But I ask you to tell me in a couple of words. Simply saying, in when you are in the context of contract law, and someone asks you, what does promise mean? Promise means a contract. You see, I just told you that a proposal, when accepted, it becomes a contract, and a contract is nothing but a set of promises. So a promise is a contract. And this term promise has been defined in section 2b. It says that when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. Let me read it again. When the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto. His assent means his agreement to that proposal. He agrees. As the student who is selling me the mobile, he said, yes, in answer to my question, would you sell me your mobile for 10,000 rupees? So the proposal is said to be accepted. So he's saying yes shows his acceptance, and technically it is known as acceptance. So a proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. Okay, whenever a proposal is accepted, it becomes a promise. And what does that mean? It becomes a contract. And whenever a contract is concluded, it must be performed, as I told you. And the one who is not performing, then he is going to come across certain unpleasant consequences in the form of, you see, litigation. And he will be compelled to compensate the one whose promise he has breached. Okay? So this is about